Hey you, Meowkaiser coming at you today with the patch notes rundown. This is the 8.7.02 update. By the time that I upload this, this server maintenance should start. There's a couple interesting things in here. I took a look. I'm probably not going to be doing a gacha pull stream for this one, although I might do like a couple gacha pulls just because the Suo skin's very cute, but I'm not going to cry over it if I don't get her. So they're adding youngster Sua. She's basically baby. They're going on with the whole like young versions of characters and older versions of characters. So we're getting young Sua. The Magnus avatar and Detective Aya avatar. I don't look at avatars. I don't particularly care. The Nandine and Rio emoticons. It's the typical stuff in between the gacha sets. So there's not really a whole lot to say here. The Glaya Pass got a new episode. I still have no intention of buying a Glaya Pass unless they make it so that you can do weekly instead of daily quests. I don't have the time to play this game every single day. And most people don't either. So, let's go to the balance changes. Shoichi's No Mercy. So No Mercy makes it so that Shoichi has a guaranteed crit every 6 attacks. They buffed this to 5 attacks. This is a significant buff to his damage overall. In late game 1v1 scenarios, you're definitely going to notice that Shoichi's able to pressure your food a lot more than he could before. So that's going to be really good. And Chloe getting 2 buffs. And 2 buffs. Getting a, she's getting 2 buffs, but this is 2 patches in a row, right? So I really like these changes. Well, first, I'm going to go over the stat attack. So the level 1 attack going from 10 to 12, that's very necessary. She just did not deal damage, so hopefully this tweak in numbers will help her a lot. But so my issue with Chloe was that both of her skills have a 60-second cooldown, right? And so I wanted them to reduce the cooldowns on them so that she could actually use them. But I think the way that they had changed her is actually far more interesting. They decided to make it so that the marionette you set down lasts for a full 60 seconds. That 60 seconds is the same amount of time as the cooldown itself. So now we actually have a spammable field skill on her, and it makes playing her very interesting. Before her issue was that you just never wanted to set it down because it only lasted 20 seconds. Most likely it was just going to disappear before it did anything meaningful. Now you can set her down somewhere, leave, and then she's just kind of permanently there, right? And so this has a couple implications. Well, I say permanently, but she also disappears upon 4 searches, and she also disappears upon you pressing her combat skill while she is in that area. So your marionette has some interesting properties. Most notably is that you can leave her in an area that people tend to run to. So like, for example, you can leave the marionette at like docks, you can leave it at hospital, you can leave it at chapel. And then the moment that you see in the action log that your marionette attacks somebody, you can actually go to that area and attack them too and hope for an easy kill. Another thing to keep in mind is that, like, let's say we leave it in chapel, for instance, and somebody goes there with low health, and all of a sudden your marionette kills them. Sweet, you know where the body is, nobody else does. This is a very interesting advantage Chloe now has. Chloe has a lot of scouting potential, and her marionettes, her skill set is just way more interesting than it was before. I really like this change. I hope she's viable. We'll have to see. Some throw changes. So Azure Dagger, now you craft 30 of them instead of 20. This is a very big change because you needed to make 60 Azure Daggers in order to get anywhere, and that was basically impossible because you needed 3 thick papers. Now you only need 2 to make Azure Daggers work. So maybe I can theory craft an Azure Dagger setup, but currently it's not coming to mind, mostly because I don't normally make these because these are awful. But definitely something to consider. Azure Daggers is going to be possible. Is it going to be viable? That's another story entirely. But hey, at least it's possible. Doing the chapel start and then going for Azure Daggers later, we'll see. Astrape got a buff from 44 stat attack to 46 stat attack. I think it still has the same problem. Astrape relied heavily on Saint's Relic for any viability. I don't think Astrapes will be viable. Devil's Marksman. So this kind of got nerfed and buffed at the same time. So the nerf it got was that it's instead of double revolver and the iron sheet, you now require a double revolver and a hand cannon. So this means that instead of just needing the double revolver and your iron sheet, which was 2 areas set up, mind you, for like dock into like slums or factory, for instance, now you have to go grab your scrap metal area and your gunpowder area. And this makes rooting for Devil's Marksman way more restrictive than it was before. And the way that this affects gun is that now making elegance doesn't feel as bad, right? We might even see more people force elegance on this change alone, because forcing yourself into a gunpowder area is kind of eh. We'll see how it goes. I think my current theory is doing something like starting at docks, getting your double revolver and your hammer, going to slums, grabbing the arm warmers and scrap metal, making that bazoo band and a steel chain, going into tunnel, using that steel chain for the tights, and then getting your gunpowder there. That's a potential thing, but like, it's still a weaker rooting than what Devil's Marksman used to be, because you were not forced to go to tunnel before. But hey, you know, at least Devil's Marksman will probably still work. Amazoness armor, Amazon. Anyway, the crit damage taken is now from minus 12% to minus 19%. This is a very significant buff. And I think most notably is that we're going to start seeing people building this. I mean, a lot of people forget that this thing exists, but I think we'll see a lot more people building it against Sylvia players and Rosalio players, especially in higher ranks where Sylvia is such a menace. So we'll see how this goes. And a bug fix. The following issue has been fixed. When several accounts are linked on a device and the user account is switched to a different one without closing the app, the Glide Pass episode that was open on the first account was also appearing as open on the second account. Great. They still have not mentioned about the fact that people still can't log into the game, like they cannot play the game at all, and they haven't mentioned the skin bug. Hopefully it's fixed. I doubt it. Nimble Neuron, why? Please address those 2 bugs. People literally can't play the game, and they literally cannot, like, view the skins. Anyway, there will not be a stream today. I know a lot of you guys are expecting it because servers are on maintenance. So we'll be doing a stream on Wednesday instead. I'll see you guys there. Peace.